Hey Cat Army, make sure you guys stay to the very end of the video to find out more about my merch drop. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Hey, how's it going Cat Army? FSUA Gaming here today with a pretty cool video. So for today, we're actually going to be building our friend Lucky's personal airsoft gun. So if you don't know who Lucky is, you guys might have seen him in some of my meme soft videos with him shooting at me or shooting with me. So it's pretty cool to be able to build a personal airsoft gun that he will probably use to, well, shoot me. So anyways, we're going to be focusing on semi-auto response, but first off, let's see how it shoots at the chrono test. 202, 262, 343, 374, 381. So as you can see, there is definitely a lot of variation in the FPS. So let's check out the full auto as well. So as you see, we're looking about 15 rounds per second, and the FPS is shooting 392 FPS. So anyways, let's get right on to the build. So as you can see, unfortunately, even for a brand new gun from e-bike, there is definitely some issues. So let's see if we can go inside and fix them. And taking a look at the Hopup unit and inner barrel, it's a very basic plastic rotary style Hopup unit, but the inner barrel is where most of everything shines. So it does have a 6.03 Type 4 barrel that is brass with a pretty deep crowning, so it's a very nice inner barrel. And after disassembling the body, we have the Specna arms gearbox right here, and as you see, it is a quick change gearbox. So let's hop inside and see the internals. So first up, you just got to remove the screws. Once all the screws are removed, you can just go ahead and pop open the gearbox. Just be very careful to make sure nothing flies out, and disengage the tappet plate spring to release pressure. Now let's go from the parts from top to bottom. Starting off, you got your air compression assembly. You have a very basic tappet plate. These I do not personally like with the Specna arms. I have replaced a couple in the past because they do snap. The pistons themselves are pretty good. They remind me of the SEMA pistons, but just with metal teeth. So not too bad at all, and it does have a pretty thick O-ring as well. So you're very generic stock piston. And for the compression, it is pretty bad with the air nozzle, but if you take it off, the compression is perfect. So that just pretty much means that if you're going to get this gun, look at a different air nozzle, as the air nozzle right here will definitely equate to a lot of FPS variations. Then you got your anti-reversal latch, very basic, very stock, and it does the job perfectly. And then moving on, as you can see, you got your very basic 18-1 steel gears right here with a sector chip. So in theory, it's supposed to help with tappet plate feeding and timing, but in our case, it doesn't really help at all. Now moving to the trigger, it is a stock basic trigger that can be upgraded to a max or speed one if you wanted to. And then for the trigger contacts, it uses the very old-fashioned shuttle system, but it does have a gate MOSFET installed, which pretty much just prevents the trigger contacts from arcing with like a 11.1 LiPo. So if you wanted to, you could definitely use a LiPo battery with this gun and no issues at all. And moving on to the stock shimming, as you can see, I cannot spin the gears at all. At first I thought it was just a really old cheap Chinese lube, but then I actually noticed that the spur gear was indeed way too tight, while the bevel and the spur gear were way too loose. So after cleaning up the whole gearbox and all the gears do finally spin. So let's move on to the upgrade parts we're going to be using for the build. So first off, we have the version 2 hybrid per-run MOSFET. This is going to give us total control of the whole entire build, while letting us really fine-tune and adjust that trigger sensitivity. Moving on to the next part, we have the Golden Boy 2.0 motor from the Real Deal AIRSOFT, which he did custom engrave for us, which you can do too if you guys just order the his engraving services. This motor is pretty much going to drive the whole power system and give us really fast, snappy semi-auto response. And as you can see, the bearings on this motor is no joke. It's definitely the real deal. And moving on to the next part right here, as you can see, we have an SHS cylinder head, which is going to just really help with the air compression while also help dampening some of the blow from the piston. And then for the Hopup assembly, we're also going to be installing a Maple Leaf and Maple Leaf Omega bucking and tensioner. So the first step of starting the bevel to pinion process of shimming is taking your time and doing it right the first time, so you don't damage anything or just take up way too much time. So I'll show you how. So install your pistol grip in your motor and your motor plate, and you want to make sure that the pinion gear is resting just like this. You don't want it too far in where it's going to bind and make the motor heat up too fast, and you don't want it too far out where it's going to start snapping off teeth. You just want it to be perpendicular while the pinion gear spins is going to just pretty much dance and roll on top of the bevel gear. Now once you do that, you just want to take up as much free space as you can. So as you can see right here, for bushings, we're looking about 0.1 millimeters of vertical up and down play while still being able to freely spin. And if you're using ball bearings, you want about 0.2 to 0.3 up and down vertical movement. After this, you want to reinstall everything, and then you want to check the pinions gears meshing with the bevel gear. So for me, I'm looking for about the littlest amount of movement possible side to side while still being able to freely click and not bind against each other. Now once you have that step, you're ready to go to the next gear. So next up, you want to do the same thing. You want to about have 0.1 millimeters of vertical moving up and down for the spur gear. Once you have that, you just want to make sure it freely spins, and then you want to shim it to your bevel gear. Now your gearbox has a lot of little holes that you can use to make sure that the gears are sitting perfectly. You don't want the bevel gear to be sitting on top of the spur, or the spur to be riding on the bevel gear. You want a little bit of light to come through, and as you can see, make sure you spin the whole system, and if it checks out and there's 6 binding, then you're good and move on to the sector gear. So same as before, same thing with the sector gear that you did with the spur gear, and then of course you want to give it a spin check and make sure everything's perfectly, and then you want to knock down your flashlight. Now you're done with shimming and you're ready to move on to the next part. So as you can see, I'm just installing the Prune version 2 hybrid MOSFET. I did do a little video breakdown in the past of me installing one, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and check out some of my other videos like the VFC Avalon build, where I talk more in depth on installing the Prune MOSFET for yourself. And so after installing the Prune MOSFET, I went ahead and started lubing up the bottom of the gearbox. So as you can see, I'm using a little bit of the super lube on the tops of the bushings and between the shims, and then also around the teeth of the gears, and then cycling the gears through with my finger just to evenly distribute the lube. And now after this, I'm going to start with the piston. So I'm actually manually AOE correcting the piston by taking off the first teeth and shaving down the second tooth. That way the sector gear doesn't actually clip on the way down. Now after gluing in and bonding it, as you can see, there are some holes on the piston. I already went ahead and Swiss cheesed it. Essentially, you just want the piston to be as light as possible. That way the piston doesn't get caught by the sector gear, causing a whole bunch of damages while the piston's getting sent forward. So this is just one of the ways to prevent it for high-speed builds. And as you can see right here, I'm just testing the compression with the new piston head, which is the Real Deal 5.01. And there's still a little bit of a leak from the air nozzle, so I went ahead and pulled out my toolbox and found a Specna Arms OEM air nozzle that I'm going to go ahead and replace it with. Now while that did help a little bit, after installing the SHS cylinder head and the VFC ported cylinder, the compression was absolutely amazing. There's no air leaks whatsoever, so I went ahead and installed the Real Deal Super Tappet Plate Spring, which is definitely just going to help with the whole system shoot and function a little bit better. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the Hopup and the bucking assembly. So as you can see right here, I'm just going to go ahead and start tearing down the Hopup system, taking off the C-clamp, the bucking, and then also the nub as well, and cleaning up the inner barrel and making sure it's nice and clean for its new setup. So as you can see, I'm installing the Maple Leaf bucking, and just make sure that the contact patch is all the way into the window, as some inner barrels, the windows are a little bit too small. So you can see, I'm just taking off the little clip on the back part just so I can get to the Hopup arm and install the Omega tensioner and closing the whole system up, making sure that we have absolutely perfect air compression between the whole system as well. After that's all been done, we're ready to close up the gun and take it to the chrono. Alrighty guys, so we got the gun loaded up with 0.2 gram BBs and a 11.1 1200 milliamp battery. Okay, we're gonna do our first shot. 393.5, 396.2, 393.1. As you can see, the FPS is definitely way more stable, even it being a new spring installed as well. Now let's go ahead and check it out with full auto. As you can see, with the stock 18-to-1 gears with better shimming and a better motor, we're hitting about 8 RPS faster. Now let's go outside and let's see how it performs on the range. So as you can see, for the range, we're definitely hitting out into the 200-foot range, and let's check out the before and the after. 338, 304, 363, 293, 396.2, 393.1, 391.9, 395.5. And as you can see, that is the full build in its entirety. This is for Mr. Lucky, so if you guys liked the video, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting down below so you guys can stay tuned and watch some more Airsoft tech videos, tutorials, and Airsoft meme compilations. But anyways, I do have something pretty cool to show you guys, so check it out. Working for the past couple months making some pretty cool designs and talking to multiple companies to find the best merchandise, and a company that will be more than happy to work with me and making my dreams come true, where you guys can buy merch and support the channel. And it's finally happened, and here it is in its entirety. Here is the FSUA Gaming's official merchandise website where you guys can pick up stickers, shirts, hoodies, jackets, and cups. So here is one of our designs, that I am a Speedy Boys FSUA custom sticker and jacket. And if you guys click it, you guys can even take a little bit of a closer peek. And if you guys want something more intimidating, check out the FSUA customs shown on Meowsy, No Easy Fights, FSUA gaming jacket, beanie, and chain. We even got some lucky ones too, and a whole bunch more designs to come. And as for the pricing, I tried my best to keep it as low as possible. That way I can make a little bit of money to support the channel as well as support my college funds as well, because I'm going to be going to UCR pretty soon, so wish me luck for that. So if you guys want to go over and check out the description and check out my website, please go pick up some merch. And if you guys do, don't forget to tag me on Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram down on the Instagram as well. Buy some merch, tag me with it, and I'll make sure to feature you guys. Anyways, love you, Cat Army, and have a wonderful day. Peace.